680 feet taller than anything on Earth. That's not a typo. That's the gap between the world's current tallest building and what's rising right now on the edge of the Red Sea. 1 kilometer, straight up. Out of sand that couldn't even hold the idea 20 years ago. This isn't a concept render anymore. This is 107 floors of poured concrete, climbing every single night while an entire city sleeps beneath it. Jeddah Tower, the world's first kilometer-tall building, northern Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. The centerpiece of a $20 billion city that doesn't exist yet, Jeddah Economic City. The tower comes first. Everything else grows around it afterward. Prince Al-Walid bin Talal signed off on this. Kingdom Holding Company, the same investment firm holding stakes in Disney, Apple, Citigroup, Time Warner, now betting billions on concrete rising out of the desert. This idea started bigger than what's being built. Back in 2008, the plan was a mile-high tower, over 1,600 meters, nearly twice what's under construction now. Soil testing that year cast doubt on whether the ground could even support it. The design got scaled back, hundreds of meters shorter, before construction ever began. The 2008 financial crisis nearly killed the project outright. Reports at the time said the original engineering firm was walking away entirely. Kingdom Holding denied it. The project survived, but barely, and it took years to find its final shape. Adrian Smith won the job in March 2010, beating out Cohn Peterson Fox, Pelly Clark Pelly, Foster Plus Partners, and Skidmore, Owings and Merrill, the very firm he'd left after nearly 40 years there. The same architect who gave Dubai the Burj Khalifa was now being asked to beat his own record by 180 meters.
A bundle of leaves shooting up from the ground. It's not a poetry, it's an architecture.
500,000 cubic meters of concrete, 80,000 tons of steel, $1.2 to $1.4 billion for the tower alone, up to $26 billion for the district around it. In August 2011, Saudi bin Laden Group signed the construction contract, worth roughly $1.23 billion, actually less than what it cost to build the Burj Khalifa. Financing took 20 months to fully assemble, closing in September 2012. By then, contracts worth nearly $100 million had already gone out for early groundwork, and a German foundation specialist, Bauer, had won a $32 million deal just to install the piling. This tower had a price tag before it had a single floor. Ground first. The Red Sea coastline doesn't hand you solid rock. It hands you reef limestone riddled with cavities, weak sandstone, gravel layers that won't hold a kilometer of concrete without serious engineering. Every meter below the surface gets tested before it gets trusted. 270 bored piles, each one between 45 and 105 meters deep. The deepest sit under the central core, where the load concentrates hardest. Every pile between 1.5 and 1.8 meters wide enough to stand inside. The reef limestone hides pockets of nothing, empty cavities that could swallow a pile's strength before it ever holds weight. Every cavity found gets filled with a sand-cement mix before the pour continues. One weak pile at the bottom, and a kilometer of tower inherits a weak point it can never fix later. Red Sea water is aggressive. Salt eats steel from the inside out. So a cathodic protection system runs through every pile, every inch of the raft slab above them, holding corrosion off before it starts. This building has to stand for a century, not just survive its own construction. The raft slab ties every pile into one system. 4.5 meters thick at the center, 5 meters thick under the three wings. 18,260 cubic meters of concrete in that slab alone. 3,650 tons of reinforcement steel holding it together. This isn't a foundation in the ordinary sense. It's a base engineered to carry roughly 900,000 tons without tipping, without settling unevenly, without stressing the tower above it. Piling finished in December 2013. Above-ground construction began 9 months later, in September 2014. The tower finally had a shape. Then it had a problem. By late 2017, two of the men whose companies owned this project, Kingdom Holdings chairman and the head of Saudi bin Laden Group, were caught up in a political purge sweeping through the country. Construction kept moving for a while. Senior managers got reassigned elsewhere. By October 2018, the walls had reached 248 meters, the core standing 60 stories tall. Then, in January 2018, the building's owner halted structural concrete work entirely. A third of the tower complete, 63 floors up, 252 meters into the sky. The cranes went silent. For nearly 5 years, Jeddah Tower sat unfinished against the skyline, a monument to ambition paused mid-sentence. A short restart attempt in 2018 gave way to a longer stall by 2020, worsened by a pandemic nobody had planned around either. September 2023. 14 contractors from the region, Europe, and China get 3 months to bid on finishing what was started. May 2024, the architect confirms it. Construction will resume, with topping out estimated 2 years out. January 2025, it's official. The tower wakes up at floor 63, exactly where it left off 5 years earlier. Ramadan slows the restart at first, then the pace picks up, and a new crane goes onto the core specifically to accelerate the climb. 66 floors by April 2025, 80 floors by January 2026, 100 floors by April 2026, 106, then 107 floors by July 2026. The number that stood still for 5 years is moving again, and it isn't slowing down. 12,000 workers and engineers at peak capacity. Saudi bin Laden Group runs the site, the same main contractor that broke ground in 2013, still here 12 years later. Thornton Tomasetti handles the structural engineering, the same firm that solved Burj Khalifa's height problem over a decade ago, now solving a taller one. Jeddah Economic Company itself is a coalition. Kingdom Holding, Abrar Holding, businessman Abdul Rahman Sharbatli, and Saudi bin Laden Group, all holding a stake in what they're building. At the core, a hexagonal footprint set inside a Y-shaped structural plan, not a simple square. 3 wings radiate outward from a closed central core, buttressing it, bracing it against wind before wind becomes a problem at extreme height. No outrigger trusses, no perimeter megacolumns, no spandrel beams, just interconnected shear walls doing the work steel trusses did on shorter towers. This design pushes past what Burj Khalifa needed, and its roots trace back further still, to 3-legged concrete forms like Toronto's CN Tower, completed nearly 50 years ago. The formwork has to match that ambition. Doka supplies the climbing systems, heavy-duty jump forms built to rise continuously up the core walls without stopping the pour, without losing alignment across 1,000 meters of eventual height. Large platform assemblages and wall formwork elements arrive pre-assembled, lifted, and anchored directly onto the concrete that's already cured below them. Every wall segment interconnects with the last. Every jump form locks onto the previous pour, climbs, and starts again. At this height, wind isn't the only danger. A fall is. Automated protection screens, systems like the X-Climb 60, wrap the working edge at every level, climbing with the formwork, keeping open air away from open floors. Slab forming equipment follows close behind the core, floor by floor, so the structure stays whole as it rises instead of leaving gaps between wall and floor. 10 million safe work hours, no lost time injury. On a site aiming for a kilometer of height, that number carries as much weight as any engineering spec. The site never sleeps. A 7,000-strong crew splits across day and night, handing the tower off between shifts so the cranes never stop turning, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Jeddah summers push past 40 degrees Celsius, with coastal humidity that barely drops after dark. Daylight work at that heat multiplies the risk for anyone working exposed at height. Night shifts aren't a preference here. They're the only way to keep 12,000 people safe and productive at the same time. Concrete doesn't tolerate heat either. Pour it under a desert sun and thermal cracking begins before the mix even finishes. Curing, invisible fractures forming inside walls meant to carry a kilometer of load above them. Pour at night in cooler air, and the concrete cures the way the engineers designed it to. Every major structural pour on this tower happens after the sun goes down. So picture it. Midnight on the Red Sea coast. Floodlights instead of sunlight. Cranes still lifting. Surveyors still checking every level against the plan. Concrete trucks still arriving on schedule. The tower that will be the tallest structure humans have ever built climbs fastest in the dark, while the city below it sleeps. Floor 63 to floor 107. 44 floors climbed since January 2025. That's the real number behind this restart. Not the final height, the recovery. Above the occupied floors, the design shifts. The three wings taper as the tower climbs, walls leaning inward, cutting the surface area wind has to push against. Aerodynamic by shape, not by trick. Above the last occupied level, the structure closes into a predominantly solid spire with a different internal layout, built for one purpose: reach 1,008 meters and stay standing while doing it. That stability needs help at the very top. Two tuned mass dampers sit inside the spire itself. One at roughly 870 tons, positioned around 826 meters up. One at roughly 260 tons, positioned around 874 meters up. Wind tunnel testing showed the main occupied structure barely needs assistance. It stays within comfort limits on its own. But the spire, uninhabited, thin, whip-like at that elevation, moves under wind more than any occupied floor ever will. These dampers cut that motion by roughly 30%. Nobody works up there day to day, but something still has to keep it steady. Getting people through this tower is its own engineering problem. 57 elevators, including 7 double-deck units carrying 2 levels of passengers in a single car. 8 escalators, all supplied by the Finnish company, Cone, all threaded through roughly 8 kilometers of hoistway inside the central core. 3 sky lobbies break the vertical run into segments, so no single elevator has to fight gravity across the tower's full height alone. The observation deck sits on floor 157, planned as the highest in the world once it opens. 2 dedicated shuttle elevators will run straight from ground level to the highest occupied floor, roughly 640 meters of vertical distance in about 66 seconds door to door. Ordinary steel cable can't manage that. At those distances, a cable's own weight becomes the limiting factor, a wall Burj Khalifa's engineers hit around 500 meters. So Cone built ultra-rope instead. Carbon fiber core, rectangular profile, a fraction of steel's weight, engineered for travel distances beyond a kilometer at speeds beyond 20 meters per second. This tower needed technology that didn't exist when Burj Khalifa was built. It's using it anyway. A separate workman's lift runs through the spire, connecting level 169 to level 230, roughly 680 to 922 meters up, carrying only the crews who will maintain equipment nobody else will ever stand beside. Inside, once the structural work clears each floor, this becomes a self-contained vertical city, a 200-room Four Seasons hotel, Four Seasons serviced apartments, luxury condominiums, Class A office space stacked above all of it, retail woven through the lower levels. Underground, a garage designed for up to 4,700 cars. The tower isn't only chasing height, it's built to function on its own, a piece of Jeddah suspended a kilometer above the ground. None of this exists in isolation. Standard Chartered has poured $75 million into Saudi bin Laden Group alone. Analysts at Citigroup estimate roughly $220 billion in regional development spending could touch this project directly or indirectly. Saudi Arabia itself has committed over $400 billion toward infrastructure in the years ahead, part of a broader push that includes a $7.2 billion expansion of Jeddah's own international airport. just to keep pace with a country whose population has nearly quadrupled in 4 decades. Bob Sin, principal engineer at Thornton Tomasetti, put it plainly. The hardest part of a building this tall usually isn't the structure itself. It's everything practical wrapped around it. Elevators that can survive the ride, concrete that can cure properly in desert heat, a workforce that can survive a July night shift on the Red Sea coast. Every one of those problems gets solved on its own, then stacked, floor after floor, until they become a single tower. Talal Al-Maiman, board member of both Kingdom Holding and Jeddah Economic Company, calls the tower an economic catalyst as much as a building. Al-Walid bin Talal calls it a statement about where Saudi investment is heading next. The tower itself isn't designed to turn its own profit. Like Burj Khalifa before it, the real return comes from what rises around it afterward. The malls, hotels, and residences that follow, once the tallest building on Earth proves the address is real. 107 floors, as of July 2026. Roughly 430 meters into a planned 1,008. Less than halfway by height, further along by floor count, since upper floors typically climb faster once a construction rhythm locks in. Target completion, August 2028. That's the number the entire site is racing toward. Night shift after night shift, jump form after jump form. 5 years of silence, then 44 floors in 18 months. That's what a restart looks like when 12,000 people decide to finish what a nation started building in 2013. This isn't the finished render. This is the tower right now, tonight, floodlit, climbing in the dark while Jeddah sleeps below it. The world's first kilometer-high building isn't a promise anymore. It's 107 floors of concrete and steel, rising toward a number no city on Earth has ever reached. We brought this project to life using publicly available construction data and reporting. In reality, Jeddah Tower has not yet been completed. Construction is ongoing, targeting completion around 2028.